what I wanted to do is just talk to you guys about pain points that are one, very obvious to a customer, and then I wanted to talk to you guys about pain points that will help you sell items to customers that aren't looking for those pieces. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, how many of you guys have ever had that where you're trying to show them the flatware or the cookware and they're like, oh no, I don't need that, right? Oh, I don't want that, or I have good of that, or, right? So we're going to cover that today because I wanted to make sure that you guys know that there's a lot of pain points that are in those certain items that we can sell that we don't necessarily hit properly, and that's why customers don't know exactly what we're trying to do with them. Does that make sense? So the first thing I wanted to do is talk about pain points with a new customer. When we use our demonstration, we know how we do our script, and a lot of people are like, oh, don't worry about the script, just go with the flow, do your thing. You guys know here, we definitely stick to our scripts because we know our scripts work. But what I wanted to do is break down those scripts and tell you guys why there are certain pain points in there that you must say. That helps you close that customer a lot faster and a lot easier. And since fair and show season's going on right now, I've noticed that when I say these pain points, the customers react immediately to it. But what I do is I kind of play with it while I'm going. So one of the things in the introduction of the first with a new customer is that when we say to the customer, now just so you know, our knives stay sharp on average 7 to 10 years, but every knife goes dull, right? And once they do go dull, we're the knife company that actually comes out to the house and sharpens it. That little line right there is a pain point that I don't think that people understand. If you miss that pain point, it doesn't resonate with the customer, right? Because they have always been told that knives are supposed to stay sharp forever. The Ginsu, we have in the one Embarcadero building, we have, Miracle Blade that's right down from us. And they tell their customers specifically, your knife will never go dull. Okay. The thing is that by being true and being authentic with your pain points helps your customer identify that we're not just a fly-by-night company and that we're actually educating them on what they need to be educated on, right? So that if a knife company says, oh, your knife will never go dull, they know now that they're lying to them, right? So a pain point that's huge to use during your demo is every knife goes dull. We know that. Because when you say that to your customer, they're shaking their head like, finally, someone's being authentic and true with us, right? So that's a huge pain point that I have written down that you guys should definitely make sure that you're saying to every single customer. The other pain point that I have with a new customers, there's not as many pain points because we do that during the demonstration. That earthquake effect, which rips and tears. That's why most people hate their knives at home. That's why you say stuff like that. But the pain point pieces that I want you guys to learn are the ones that are positive pain points that create a positive outcome. A lot of times when you hear pain points, you always think of all the negative, right? And that's what the pain point is. Actually, the ones that are the best is the ones that you focus on that are the positive pain points. And one of the pain points that I have here in the demo, right before you show the customer the price, right? I have in here, make sure you tell them, just so you know, Cutco's not cheap, and cheap things aren't good, and good things aren't cheap. And the reason why I make sure that you guys put this in your radar is because if you say that line to your customer before you close, there's two types of reactions that happen. First reaction that happens from that is, just so you know, Cutco's not cheap, cheap things aren't good, and good things aren't cheap. If they say, well, how expensive is it? That automatically tells you that they are a price shopper. 2, you didn't give enough value for them to understand that they're buying something that is of high value. Okay? Which is great because if I hear that customer go, well, how expensive is it? Then I do a twist on it, which we'll teach you that here in a second. The second thing that I noticed with the pain point is that when you say that, they go, oh yeah, you can tell it's expensive. When you get that reaction, you know that customer is ready to be closed. Okay? So you can go right into the closing right away with the customer. If the reaction to that pain point is, oh, well, how expensive is it? The twist that I throw back at them is I go, well, how expensive do you think it is? Because then you're actually finding out the truth of what they're thinking. And you go, well, how much do you really think this set is? And you point to the homemaker and they go, oh, I think it's about $450. Oh, you're way off. right? And people that work the fair, they know I say that right to the customer. Oh, you're way off the mark, right? And they're like, oh, this stuff's really expensive. I was like, yes. I was like, you pay for quality, right? And then you can go into that with that customer properly. Now, if that customer says right there, they go, oh, well, this set's probably $1,000. You're like, you know what? You're right on the money. Now, yes, the price of that set normally costs about this, but like I said, everything here at the show is on sale, so this is the price that we have it on. Okay? The other thing that helps you out with that too is that when that customer quotes that price, that's the expectation that they're thinking they're going to be spending today. Does that make sense? So the reason why I use that pain point is because I want to know exactly how much are you going to spend, and if you don't know what you're going to spend, you're going to tell me about where you want to land. Okay? So if that customer goes, oh, that set's about $300, then you know that that's what they're willing to pay today for a set of knives. So it kind of tells you where you're going to probably land with that customer. A lot of reps don't like it because they're just like, Curtis, you just skipped right over those two sets and you went right there, sold it, out they went. And I was like, that's because the customer told me how much they wanted to spend. I took their money and off they went, right? Also, it helps you with what type of payments that you can take from a customer as well. Okay? Is this all lining up? Okay? So it makes it faster for you to close your customers at the booth. Use that line, you'll see the reaction. If they just stand there and shake their head, then you know that they know that it's coming. The price is coming and it's going to be expensive. Okay? If they don't, they're going to react the way that I want them to react and go, well, how expensive is it? Well, what do you think it costs? Right? And then it's like, well, it's American made, it's guaranteed. And if they're going over the points, they should be right in that ballpark of where you think that it should be, $1,000, right, for the homemaker. Sometimes they point at the ultimate and they'll go, well, how much is this? And I go, well, how much do you think that set would be? Right? These are those people that walk up, well, how much is this big set? Well, I don't know. How much do you think it's worth? Well, it looks like a $400 set. No, it's about $400 for 5 payments interest free. Right? And then that customer's like, oh, this is expensive. Right? And then you can go right into the demonstration. Okay? The other thing that I put on here, pain points, is identifying why they don't know Cutco. Okay? A lot of times when you say, have you ever heard of Cutco, or you're familiar with Cutco, right? And they say no. My instant reaction now is, oh, well, that's fine. You probably don't know who we are because we're a private company based in Olean, New York. That's a pain point. That's a positive pain point. You don't know us because we're a private company. Okay? Anytime it's a private company, what do people want? The exclusivity. They want the private, right? And they're like, oh, this is a private company. Tell me more, right? Because then it's intriguing to them and it gets them excited. Pain points for the new customers. Okay? We can go over more pain points with them, but it's already in the demonstration, right? Our straight edges, they're actually hand-honed, blah, 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 blah. You know how that goes.
Can I ask one question about what you said about when you ask someone, well, how expensive do you think that is? The one thing I'm curious about is the value proposition. If you're still showing someone a homemaker at that point, and you said you skipped the thing that they're comfortable spending, you go straight to that from there? Like,
Not immediately. What I do is I feel them out. They tell me how much they're willing to spend. And then what I do is I continue closing on that set. And then I know what's going to happen. They go, oh, that's too expensive, or that's out of our league. Then I go, okay, well, let me show you something that might be in your league. That's when I skip.
And then go right to it.
Right, because then I know how much they're willing to spend. Okay? So, pain points with past customers. Okay? And I'm just going to go over the ones that help you guys sell, like flatware, cookware, stuff like that. Most of the time, the pain points are in the script, but this one is different. Like when you get your flatware or your cookware, what we have to do is we have to handle the objection of, I don't want that, I don't need that, right away. So what I do is I introduce the flatware a little bit differently than how we are told, right? We're told to just point at the flatware, hey, can I interest you into our flatware, blah, blah, blah. What do you think that customer is going to say? No, because they know you're trying to sell them something, right? So what I do is I introduce the cookware and the flatware a little bit differently by using pain points. One of the best kept secrets of Cutco is actually our flatware. And most people don't even know that we make flatware. What did I just do? I just threw out 2 pain points right there, right? My favorite thing is Cutco, you don't even know that we make it, right? The reason why I love our flatware is because Cutco thought about everything when it comes to our flatware. Now, you probably don't need a good set of flatware, but I just want to tell you a little bit about how great our flatware actually is, right? And then what I do is, you know what the most embarrassing thing is? When you go over to someone's house at a holiday and they have a mix-match set of knives, right? Or flatware, right? Sometimes they're so embarrassed they don't even want to put their flatware out because they don't want their guests to know that they don't have matching sets. The thing that's great about Cutco, and then what do? You talk about how it stays the same, right? The pattern stays the same. And then what you do is then you talk about, and the other thing is, you know that mix match, there's usually that one that was garbage disposal, the fork is all messed up, the tines and stuff like that. Well, this is what's great about Cutco. And then what you do is you go right into all of the magic points that we all have learned, right? It has 5-star rating, it's 1810 stainless, it's beautiful, it has the perfect mouthpieces, right? It's dishwasher safe, blah, 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 right? But the pain points is explaining to that customer the embarrassment of not having a complete set or having a hodgepodge, right? And also introducing that customer to the product a different way than just, hey, here's our flatware, can I show it to you, right? One of our best kept secrets is actually our flatware, and most people don't even know we make it, right? And then you talk about it. When I say those pain points of, you know, having a mix match set, usually your customers, if they are thinking that way, they'll go, yes, I hate my flatware, right? If they say something on that line, you know that you got them, right? You got them going. Now it's time to use the magic points and then bring them to the point, right? The other thing that I have written here too is our cookware, right? How do you introduce the cookware? Oh, have you seen our cookware? Did you know that Cutco makes cookware? Right? It's not the way to do it, okay? Did you know that back in the beginning stages of Cutco in the 1940s and 50s, there was another company that was called Wherever Pots and Pans? And the customer's like, yes. If they're familiar with it, they're going to agree with it. If they say no, be like, oh, well, they were the waterless pans that went door to door selling pots and pans, and Cutco was the knives that went with them. Believe it or not, that's how Cutco got its start from the pot and pan company. Now, the thing that's crazy is that our customers don't even know that we make pots and pans, and they're right here, and they've been around longer than Cutco since the 1800s, right? Then the customer's like, oh, really? Tell me about your cookware, right? The problem is that our pain points, we don't bring them up the right way. What we do is then we bring them up with the customer like, oh, well, you know, your pots and pans, they have that non-stick in there. You know, whenever you do your mashed potatoes, next thing you know, you have pepper in there, right? Well, that's actually the pan falling apart. It's unhealthy. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? Those are great pain points to bring up, but it's not the appropriate way to bring them up. One thing that I would tell you, too, in your cookware is tell customers all the time, you know, you will burn things in these. The stigma that comes with these pans is that everything burns and sticks to them. And that's true because nobody teaches you how to use the pans correctly. But the thing that's great about buying from me is I'm going to be your professional rep that's going to actually teach you and show you how to cook healthier by using our pots and pans. Right? The pain point comes as you don't like these pans because A, they're stainless steel, 2, you know that they're going to stick to everything, which is not true. You've just never been taught properly, right? And then that customer goes, oh, this is awesome. Like, I actually have someone that does that. One thing that I do at the fairs is I say, if you buy the pots and pans here at the show, what we can do after the show is out, I can come over and do a cooking demonstration with you and your family, and I can actually cook and do all sorts of stuff with your pans to show you how to fry an egg properly, right? Other pain points. If you buy our pans, you have to watch the YouTube videos on how to use our pans properly, right? And the customer's like, what do you mean YouTube? And I'm like, literally, it's a different type of cooking. Do you want to be healthy or do you want to be not healthy? If you want to be healthy, you're going to use our pans. If you don't want to be healthy, then you can keep using the pans that you have at home, right? So the pain points, you got to make sure that you guys are sticking to those as well, okay? The other thing that I have here is that pain points come up by the customer not knowing what we do, how we function, okay? When you want to upgrade your customer at the booth, we know what the upgrade program is of Cutco. Our customers have not a clue what an upgrade program is. So that what you do is you bring up the pain points of, a lot of our customers buy individual pieces, and next thing you know, they don't have a block or a storage unit to put them all in. They have their original set, and then they have a couple that are in the drawer. And then what I do is I use the analogy of the Bentley, right? If you had a Bentley, do you put your Bentley outside underneath the tree, or do you buy a garage and make sure that it's protected correctly? And then the customer's like, obviously we want to protect it. Well, this is just like the investment that you're making here, right? What we do is then we explain the program to them and then introduce the program, right? And I think that that's identifying the pain point is that we think one way, the customer thinks the other way. So what we have to do is we have to think like a customer when we're at the booth with them, okay? If I was at the booth and I was buying individual pieces and I didn't know that there was even a program like that, how am I going to find out about it, right? The only way is by explaining it properly. Not just, what we do is we just get you a block and then we get you your missing pieces and then you have your upgrade, right? It doesn't work that way because the customer's like, what do you mean a block and then I get knives? Like, I don't get what you're saying, right? So use the pain point of when you buy your new knives, you're going to find out that they don't fit in the block that you have at home. So what Cutco did is they have a new upgrade program that's designed specifically for customers like you. And what we do is we find out what pieces you have. And then what we do is we find out what block fits what you have plus your new ones. What we do is we send you out a new block plus your new knives. And then we have you take all your old knives that are at home, send them back to the factory. Cutco will refurbish and replace and sharpen those. And then when those come back, you'll put all of it into the one block, and then you'll have a brand new set of knives. Right? And then what I do is I use the pain point of, this set normally would cost you $3,500, but you're not going to pay nowhere near that today. Because if you do the upgrade program, we can get it to you at a discount price. Right? It's kind of like those sheets that you use. They're like $15.98 for the upgrade. Well, if you show that sheet to the customer, they're like, what is an upgrade? Right? Like, I don't get why you're showing me this block with all these knives when it doesn't make sense to me. Right? So that pain point is making sure that you're explaining it before you just describe it. Okay? So I have that with past customers. The other thing too is that when you're using pain points with your customer, make sure that you're not just making things up with them to make them feel comfortable about buying it. Okay? Your pain points should never ever cross the line, okay, of someone misunderstanding what you're saying. Because a lot of times what we do when we're with a customer is that we'll just say things to get them to buy it. But what it could be is taking them totally down the wrong path without actually finding out if they need that product or want that product, right? So what I say is make sure that you ask them first, okay, well, do you do a lot of vegetable cutting in your kitchen, right? And if they say yes, then you can go and explain the vegetable knife. If they say, no, I cut a lot of meat, why are you showing them a vegetable knife when you could be over in this area? Cool. Any questions?
Some other pain points would be like, upgrade would be instead of paying near full price one at a time, right?
Right.
We
Well,
have a package bundle deal that saves you money.
Yep. One of the things that's great about you saying that is I say this. You know what Cutco likes? They like customers like you that buy a few pieces every year because you'll end up spending 3 times as much rather than just buying your upgrade all at one time. Right? And then the customer's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I have customers that have the full set and they spent like $3,000-$4,000 when they could have all gotten it together and it only cost them about $2,000. And the customer's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, we love people like you. Right?
Awesome.
And what it does is then it creates that need of, oh crap, like I want to save money. I should do bigger packages. Right? So it's the same thing. You use that so that it paints the picture to the customer. Don't buy individuals. Right? And like everybody thinks all Curtis does is buy 2, get 1 free. That's not true at all. Because what I do is I get them interested in the buy 2, get 1 free, and then I use that verbiage, that pain point, and then they're like, well, I don't want to do that. So what other things do you have that I can add on? And then I'm like, oh, well, one of Cutco's best kept secrets is actually our flatware. Right? And then they're like, oh, well, show me the flatware. Yeah, and if you buy the flatware, we can give you some of your knives for free as well. And they're like, oh, that's a great deal. Right? So then the package progressions start off of that as well. Okay? So, that's like a definite, pain point there that you want to bring up with your customer. Any other ones? Okay. And I'm going to clarify something that was asked on the call the other day, because I was like, what did you just ask? Like, I was like thrown for a loop. The thing is that there is a difference between a price shopper and a value shopper. And what you have to do is make sure that you use pain points to fix the price shoppers. And what I was saying by that, this is nice, because what we're doing now is we're saying normal price, Cutco's price, fair price, right? That automatically excludes out that price shopper. But what you want to also do is you have to utilize how many pieces you're buying and throw that back in their face too. Because anyone that always asks you, well, how much is this knife? How much is this knife? How much is this knife?
How many pieces?
Or how many pieces come in this? Or what do I all get with this, right? Anytime you hear that come out of their mouth, that means they're price shopping, or they're looking for the exact price that they would pay per piece, right? So it's very nice for you to go, this is our 20-piece set. Normal retail value on it's blah. It's Cutco sale price this. It's on sale here at the show for this, which means the average piece only comes out to about $50 per piece. So like this chef knife, which is normally $150, it's now only $50 because you're buying it in the set.
Now, do you say that no matter what, every single time?
Every time I do now, because after working with you and I already knew the price shopper thing, I was like, how do we go further with this where I don't ever have to hear a price shopper ask me a question about a knife or a price like that?
Yeah. And then how many pieces do you say for signatures and ultimate sets?
With the signature set, I say 27 pieces, and then the ultimate is going to be 36 pieces. And that's just because you put the block in. I only put a cutting board. You could go more if you really want to, but I'm just like on the fly, like, oh, this is how much it is per piece. And if you notice, 37. Right? Because sharpener, 3 cutting boards in the block. Right? So the thing is that make sure that when you guys do that, already have the price broken down so that you can immediately tell the customer. So in the ultimate, the average piece costs you $56. So that cleaver, which is normally $205, which is one of our most expensive pieces, is actually almost 75% off in that set. Right? Because right there, you just said 75% off. They're like, okay, price shopper. They're like, ding, 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 this is a great deal. Okay? And that's what you want to hear when you're dealing with someone that's a price shopper. But use those pain points of, this is what it is. Yeah, I'm way over.
Real quick,
Yeah.
just the rephrase, like when you were saying, Cutco loves customers who buy it, could you just repeat that one more time?
Yeah, what Cutco doesn't want you to know, okay? This is a phrase that I've been saying a lot that's helping me out. What Cutco doesn't want you to know is that they love people like you that only buy a few pieces. Because they know in the long run, if you keep buying individual pieces, you'll pay 3 times as much as if you just did it as one package deal. But the key is, Cutco doesn't want you to know. It's pretty bomb.
Major key.